Are we live?
We're live.
We're working?
Yeah.
Perfect. Awesome. Okay. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. I am super excited today because I have Jill with me in honor of the release of Heir of Light, which, when this video drops, I think will be in 6 days. Just crazy to think about. We wanted to have a little surprise celebration, talk about Heir of Light, talk about Blood of Kings, and so Jill will be hijacking the channel to spearhead that. But first, I wanted to give Jill the chance to introduce herself because Jill, I've obviously talked about you a lot. I talk about you as a mentor, as someone who has taught me a bunch of stuff, as someone who is like behind the audition process for Blood of Kings. But I feel like people that haven't read Blood of Kings still probably don't fully understand the dynamic with the Legends collection. So what would you like people to know about yourself and about Blood of Kings?
Okay, well, um, I'm a random person. I'm a multi-passionate creative, which means I like books today. I like movies tomorrow. Oh, I like knitting. Oh, I like this. And I'm just gonna do all the things because life's too short, right? Why not do it all? And so I have written over 30 books, and they are not all in the same genre, but most of them are fantasy. Most of them.
Whoa.
Um, I consider myself a story world first novelist, which means I like to build my world first, and then I think about my characters and my plot. Um, and Rats is one of my favorite worlds that I ever created, and so I was really excited when Susie asked me to make books in that world again. I love teaching about writing, and as I briefly mentioned, for the past 5 years, my husband and I have been learning to produce and make films. So we are on a filmmaking journey that's been very fun. That's me in a nutshell. And what was your second part of your question? I forgot it.
About Legends. So how would you describe what Legends is to people who maybe aren't familiar with Blood of Kings?
Okay,
This whole
so
adventure we're on.
what Legends is that Susan May Warren is a novelist and a she owns a publishing house, and she asked me if I would be interested in having more people write in the Blood of Kings story world, which I call Arets, ER''RETS. Um, and that word, in case you're like, where do you come up with that word? It's actually Hebrew for the word earth. Um, so I thought it would be a great title for my land. So Susie was started Sunrise Publishing on a model in which my monitors keep flashing at me. In a model in which basically she found authors who have big worlds, and she wanted to expand those worlds with more stories because oftentimes fans will have a favorite series they love, and then but it's only that series. It's kind of what Suzanne Collins is doing with the Hunger Games, except if Suzanne had instead thought, you know what, instead of me writing them, what if I mentored some new writers and I let them write stories about President Snow, that kind of a thing. So we're writing spin-off stories in the Blood of Kings world. But I'm not writing them all. I'm having new authors write them, and Nikki is one of those writers. And so she auditioned, and she came out on top, which is very exciting. And I can share just a teeny bit more about that later when I'm asking her questions. But that's briefly it. So Nikki is written Heir of Light, a story that took with characters from the Blood of Kings trilogy. Excuse me, at least one character from the original trilogy, and taking place in that story world.
Awesome. Okay, thank you for describing that because I have tried and I feel like my description has always been really bad. So that's great. People, now you know officially what Blood of Kings Legends is. That was way better than my description. I am curious though, I've wanted to ask you this for so long. Like, when I think about the idea of just returning to a world that I had not been in for a length of time, but B, like putting that into new hands, what is that like? What was that like for you? Like, were you nervous at all about returning? Was it harder to return? Because you've written Squire of Truth, like you've also written in the Legends collection. How was it going back? Seamless? Difficult?
I was really excited to write more stories in that world because I liked that world. Usually when an author finishes a series, they're kind of sick of it for a while. It's like, oh my gosh, how many books did I say this would be? But I mean, it's been a long time since I finished those books. And so I was kind of excited to go back, and I had a great fun writing Squire of Truth. In fact, I wrote an in-between story of Cole and Kurtz as that paralleled books 2 and 3 in my original trilogy just for myself so that I could get into who they were. And
Oh,
someday I will put that out if I ever have time to read it again because it's a mess. But it was so fun to just like, and what were they doing then? And where was Cole in this scene? And then I would find mistakes because this is what happens. And I'd be like, oh, that doesn't make any sense. Did I write that? Yep, that's published. That's in print. We're stuck with it. Okay. And so that was definitely the challenge when all of a sudden I had three authors digging through my books and saying, how old is this character exactly? Here you say he looks like he's in his 20s, but here he actually says he's 32. I think he can attest to that one. And so yeah, it was weird. Um, but it's so honestly, it's been harder in those respects than I thought it might be. Uh, but it's also kind of easier because I didn't have to create a new world. So the world's there, the characters are there, and some of that heavy lifting is done. Um, However, there's also the thing where these are authors with their own brains and their own ideas, and they have, and then I'll read them and I'll think, what?
fair.
That's not how I thought that would go. Or and Nikki likes creating new magic systems within the magic systems. We're like, wait, what?
I'm
Didn't you
sorry,
read
Jill.
that? Magic doesn't do that. But then we're like, I guess it could. So whatever. So I think it helps to try to be as flexible as I can, which has worked so far, um, for the most part, and we're having fun. So it's really exciting. It's not something that everybody gets to do, so I feel honored that people are actually spending their life writing in my world. It's very humbling.
Thank you. And sorry. Sorry
You're
for breaking all your magical rules. I'm really sorry. But yeah, you've been amazing, and I don't think that would be easy to do. So like kudos to you. I don't think I would do it as well as you do. But my last question for you was, because I know that you have a heart for like young writers and you've done Go Teen writers, like what is your best piece of advice for young writers?
My best piece of advice for young writers is give yourself permission to stink at your writing. So that means because when I started out, I was trying so hard to make every word perfect, and I didn't want to show it to anybody until it was perfect, and then I thought it was perfect, and it was very much not, but I didn't know because I just was so new. And so people would give me feedback, and then I'd be like, "Oh, I better fix it." And so I would go and I would rewrite chapters 1 through 3 like 800 times, and I
Mhm.
didn't even have the book finished. So the first time I pitched it, it was only half done, and I was still in my head like, "I'm gonna make $1 million. It's gonna be amazing."
Of
I was just
course.
out here in dreamland, completely naive. And then of course, as I finally did finish it, get to the end. Your characters do things, and you're like, "Oh, that's how it ended, huh?" Well, I got to go back and delete chapters 1 through 4. Those ones I've been spending 2 years on are deleted now. And so I learned that I can not only write faster, but more efficiently if I just give myself permission. It doesn't have to be good. It's not going to be good. It's a first draft. And right to the end, um, and then go back and fix it. And I kind of, one of my favorite quotes is Michael Crichton, who is known mostly for Jurassic Park and 100 other books, but maybe not 100, but he said books aren't written, they're rewritten, including your own. It's one of the hardest things to accept, especially after the seventh rewrite hasn't quite been it. And that is so true.
Yeah.
So give yourself permission to stink. Don't take it so seriously at the beginning. Just have fun with it. And then, but it is hard work and you have to go back and keep working at it.
Everybody, I wish that Jill had told me that ages ago. For everyone who's been watching my videos for any length of time, you will know that that is my exact struggle, that I'm still there. And yeah, this is why everyone needs a Jill. So thank you so much, Jill, for that great answer. And I hope that advice is helpful for other people too. I say that or something similar all the time because that's what I've learned the hard way as well. But it's so nice to hear it reflected by someone who has like done the thing for a length of time and you're a pro and you know what you're talking about. So be encouraged, everybody.
I
And
want a shirt.
now,
I want a shirt that says everyone needs a Jill.
yes, you need that. I'll get you that. Christmas
Just
present. Everyone needs a Jill.
that's
And
sorry.
now
The
we have
randomizer shirt.
come, yeah, we have come to the part of the stream where I am going to hand things over to Jill. She is now the host. She's hijacking everything, and I'm now on the hot seat. So go for
Okay.
it, Jill.
Let's see. Where did I put my Nikki questions? Sorry, I'm having a moment. Well, the
No,
first
all
question
good.
I know I had for you was, Nikki, when did you first start writing? What made you decide to be a writer? When did you start writing? Because you're not very old,
Um,
so.
Thanks. Yeah. When did I start writing? I think I remember seriously writing my first story when I was maybe in like first grade, but I think it was just I had a passion for storytelling early on. And so growing up, like we would always do like, like role playing kind of games, like fantasy kind of character free games like that. And I was always sort of like what's the like Dungeons and Dragons term, like game master or dungeon master or whatever. Like I felt like I was always the person like controlling the plot or like guiding the plot. And so that kind of just naturally, as you get older and you need like an outlet for that same kind of creative energy, I think that writing just kind of emerged naturally. And I realized that this is something I really love and never stopped. So yeah, kind of forever, I guess.
It's very addictive once you get going. You're like, I can't not do this anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
Everywhere I go, I'm like, ooh, that could be a character. Um, okay, and so I'm curious then, what inspired you to audition for the Blood of Kings?
What inspired me to audition? Well, a friend of mine has gone through the Sunrise process, and she was like ahead on her journey and kind of came alongside me and was really encouraging me. At that time, I was kind of struggling with where my writing was going. Was it going anywhere? I was coming to terms with the idea that, like, you know what, maybe this isn't going anywhere and it's just for me, and that's fine. I actually was at peace with that. I promise. I had reached that point, the surrender point. But then this opportunity came up, and she really encouraged me that I should try for it. I think her advice was something to the tune of, like, don't refuse to walk through a door that God has put in your path. Like, just, you have nothing to lose, just try it. So I auditioned, and then the opportunity came, and it was like, whoa, okay. That was the Lord's answer. We're going to go for it. And yeah, it's been a huge blessing.
And you guys should know,
Thank you, Kate.
I don't mind saying this, but these were blind auditions, so I didn't know who the people were, and I knew like a handful of my people who said they'd auditioned, but I was like, is this that person? I don't know. I can't figure it out. I don't know. I'm not supposed to know. Stop trying to figure it out, Jill. But eventually, when we got to it wasn't until we got to the top three. So we did one stage where it was the top 10, and then they had to write something else, and then we did the top three. It wasn't until we revealed them that I knew who was who, but they were all numbered. So every person who entered had a number. I don't remember your number, Nikki, but I do remember that every time we had an audition or a level of going through, Nikki, Susie and I agreed on only one thing, and it was your number always was the first. So you were always ranked number one. And we were like, who is this person? And I was still at the very beginning trying to figure out what to do with this set person that this author had created. I was like, who is this person? Right, from this, but I couldn't deny your level of skill as a writer. So you were always at the top. I was like, there that person is again. I don't know who they are. And then we were like, what? She's only, what are you? We were 20 at the time, I think.
I think I was 20 then. Yeah.
We were all like flabbergasted. So yes, you do.
Well, that makes me feel good.
You have great skill. Good job.
Thank you.
So those are my questions. So we have some questions from the other Blood of Kings Legends authors that we have brought in, and we want to share with you. So are we ready for those, Nikki?
Can I pull it up? It's ready on your end? Awesome. Sweet.
All right. So here we go.
Hi, Nikki. I'm really excited about the release of your book, Heir of Light. There is one character I am dying to know more about, and that is Sir Rigel's sidekick, Mez. Can you tell me anything about what or who even inspired you as you were writing this character?
I'm so glad Kelly asked that. I love Mez so much, and I just want to talk about him. So Mez, from the beginning, was supposed to be just kind of like this quirky, almost like irritating character to play off of Rigel. Rigel's a little more like business, like serious about the task at hand. I wanted that fun age gap between them, and I wanted Mez to be kind of annoying but lovable at the same time. But then the more I wrote, and I did kind of have to sit on this story for a while because I blitzed my first draft so early, he grew up a lot from the beginning to the end. I aged him up. He became a lot more like capable. He kept his boyishness, but lost that like childishness. And I think a big influence for his character was Matrim Cawthon from The Wheel of Time, who is probably my favorite character in The Wheel of Time. Just so much fun. Whenever I hear Mez say moldy onions, I think of Matrim Cawthon. And yeah, and I also think for people who have read Stormlight, there's a character who eats constantly. I think her name is Lift. Is that correct? Lift? I think so. And that was one. Yeah. I know that Susie commented on that when we were brainstorming everything, that Mez reminded her of Lift. And I think that Lift's constant eating made its way into Mez's character because that's one of his quirks that I love most about him. But yeah, that's Mez.
Yeah. And we love Mez. We love Mez a lot. More news on that later.
Stay tuned.
Okay. All right. Second question from Andrew. Let's see here.
I'm ready.
Well, hi, Nikki. So back when
Hi,
we
Andrew.
started all this Blood of Kings Legend stuff, you mentioned that you wanted to write about Sir Rigel because you, quote, had a crush on him. So what is it about Sir Rigel that you found so swoon-worthy, and what is it that makes him such a captivating character?
I love that Andrew had to pull that out of the deep past and bring it back for everyone to hear again. Awesome. I was 20 at the time, guys. Okay. But yes, Rigel, I did have a crush on. He was definitely the most romantic figure in the original trilogy, I thought. And I think it was because he had this like roguish quality to him right off the bat. He reminded me a lot of, I don't know the name of this character, but in the Thor movies, the like blonde friend of Thor's like trio of friends, he has this kind of like knight, but there's a marauder like quality to him. Jill dropped like little hints about that. He has this dry sense of humor, moments where he's very mature and gallant, and then moments where he seems almost immature or like excessively romantic. And so I just felt that he was full of contradictions and that made him really interesting. Plus, I think the fact that in the original series, the main, like your female lead, had a crush on him, I think that makes him, made him seem even more alluring and like, okay, there's something about this character that he just needs own story. But hopefully that answers Andrew's question.
All the girls had a crush on Sir Rigel at some point, I think, is what Sue
He's
said.
just, yeah, it's inevitable. How can you not?
Most notorious bachelorettes. I forgot to say who these people were. I just put their videos up, or their, Nikki, I'm like, there they are. So really quickly before we bring the next question out, Kelly Fernlake wrote Lady of Shadows, which is Lady Tara's story, which is fantastic. And Andrew Swearingen wrote Lord of Winter, which is which was the second book in the Blood of Kings Legends and takes place in the frozen north. Think Vikings, but not. That helps you. Okay, and then next we have Megan, who is writing a Blood of Kings Legends book, but we haven't told you which one or who she's writing yet, but that information is coming soon. So here's Megan. And Megan is also our line editor, and she has been a hero to all of us as she's been working on these books. So here is Megan.
Yes, she has.
Hi, Nikki. I would love to know, what was your favorite thing that you got to research for Heir of Light?
Okay,
Ooh, okay. As soon as I heard this question, I know the answer to this. My favorite thing to research was self-defense and like the fighting. I started karate during this process. It was it wasn't specifically for writing research, but that was something that was in my head. And self-defense is a big part of the dojo that I go to. We focus a lot on that. So there are like multiple moments throughout this story because I have a female character who I wanted to be physically capable, but not necessarily like a swordswoman, where I got to incorporate things directly from karate class. Little moves that Seth does to get out of things, or there's a part where she's like fighting Rigel and she uses certain things when they're like sparring. And yeah, that was super fun. I got like a ridiculous amount of joy and satisfaction out of writing these little things where it's like, I actually know what I'm saying here. I'm not just like throwing limbs around and hoping that people don't look too closely. It's like, this move works. I know because I've done it. And it felt really cool to have that like personal aspect and that personal research going into it.
And that's funny because that's kind of what authors do. When I wrote the first draft of By Darkness Hid, there's this plot point where this knight Sir Gavin is training Aiken, our main character, to use a sword, and my editor said, "So where did you get this information, Jill?" And I said, "I just made it up." He's like, "Yeah, it's sounding like that. We can't do that. You need to go read some books on it." So I had to buy this book called Medieval Swordsmanship and learn all this stuff.
Oh, wow.
I was just like, I don't know, I just made it up. It's not good. We don't do that. Some things, yes, you can make up in fantasy, but sword fighting is not one of them. And
Yes.
fighting skills, people who know how to do these things can tell. It looks
Yeah,
so it's
that's
awesome
the thing.
when you can get that research. And that's amazing. Okay, let's see. We're gonna hear from Kelly again.
Of Light.
Okay, my turn again. Nikki, I wanted to know, out of all the places you took your characters in Heir of Light, which place in Eretz was your favorite to visit and why?
Ooh, okay. So I would have to say Hamina, which is Seth's home. I was going to say hometown. I guess it technically is home island, I guess. And that was definitely my favorite because, Jill, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think it's ever seen in the original trilogy. Or
No.
I don't even know if it's mentioned, like,
No,
on page.
well, I don't know if it's mentioned. I spent time there in the prequel series, but not at all in the trilogy. The trilogy didn't get into that far south area at all. Not much on the darkness side. If they didn't go past it, I didn't talk about it.
Which worked out well for me because then I could just create it and invent it. And that was so fun because I had a sort of piratey image in my head and I was able to kind of build that. But it was also because Seth was a created character, I think it was really helpful that I could build a place that would produce that kind of character and sort of work backwards. Like, we have this woman, what kind of place, what kind of upbringing would create a character like this? And so I got to draw on, like, I don't know, flavors and things from different sources of inspiration, some Pirates of the Caribbean in there, some things from, like, Disney's Hook, like, just vibe-wise, and using Seth's character as kind of the boundary and the framework for that. It was just super fun to make Hamina. Plus, I love that we then got to make a map of Hamina, and my brother made it, and it makes me happy that my brother's map is in the book. So, yeah.
He did an amazing job. Also, I think the Hamina thing worked really well because it was one thing that we didn't have to get into the weeds about, where poor Andrew and Kelly wrote in places that I wrote in the original series. So I was constantly going in, what did I say about Taftstown and what did I say about Maribel Corner and blah blah blah.
Right.
And then I'd bother them and say, actually, guys, I described it this way, and make sure we got to be, consistent.
Yeah.
And I drove them crazy. Yeah. So, no, that was awesome, and you did a great job with him. And now, it's now has so much character. It's fantastic. Okay, let's see. Andrew is back with another question.
Hi there again, Nikki. Not only is your female heroine, as opposed to a male heroine, a completely unique character to the Blood of Kings series, but also so is her blood voicing ability, her ability to divide her consciousness into multiple spaces. How did you first come up with that idea, and is it similar to what you originally came up with, or has it been modified through the writing process?
Okay, I missed the last part. How did I come up with that idea, and what was the last bit?
Has it been modified through the writing process?
Oh, actually, I feel like that's one thing that really has not changed at all throughout the writing process. I'm a big fan of the Lunar Chronicles. Oh, as you can see right here, I have multiple copies of all the books. And so I think that concept of, like, one person being able to control multiple people, that was where I saw that play out kind of most clearly. It's really fleshed out in that series. I really loved that idea. I think it just creates so many opportunities for suspense and tension, and just loved that. And that was so much fun in this book. But also in the original trilogy, one of the most interesting things about, like, the magic system, the blood voicing, that telepathic magic, is the limitations that you put on it, Jill. I think that created so many interesting problems for the characters. Like, the idea that these magical gifted characters can watch through someone else's eyes or influence someone, but in order to do these things, they have to be, like, lying down and completely vulnerable and have someone watch their bodies. Like, such a fun limit on the magic. And so I think that that's part of what inspired Seth's was like playing with that question of, okay, what if you didn't have to do that? Like, what if you could do all these things, but you could still be fighting or, you know, dealing with things in the real world and you don't have to put yourself in that vulnerable position? What kind of weapon would that make you, and what might people want to do with that? So, yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. Yes, it's always good to have limitations. I did this even before Brandon Sanderson had his writing magic rules of limitations. So,
Oh,
so yeah, 2 points for me. But I also thought this is just really random. I also think it's funny that some of the characters can't even do that part of blood voicing. Because I'm writing Kurtz right now, and he could never go into the veil, and he keeps trying, but he doesn't have that. And it annoys him that he can't do that piece. But he
poor
can talk
Kurtz.
all day in the blood voicing, but he can't anyway. So it's always good. It makes things interesting. Not everybody's the same in real life either.
Exactly. Yeah.
And Seth is unique, and we love her. Okay, last question from Megan.
Me again with another question. I would love to know, what was the hardest part of writing Heir of Light, and how did you work through that?
The hardest part. I think that the hardest part of writing Heir of Light. Oh, wait, whoops.
Sorry, I wanted the right face to be on the screen.
Fair. I will make that disappear, so it will just be us.
Oh, there you go.
There we go. Okay. We're technologically savvy, guys. This is great. You should have seen like the 20-minute lead up where we were figuring everything out. It was a lot of fun. But okay, hardest part of writing Heir of Light, I think, was writing Rigel's kind of emotional and spiritual arc. I found it very difficult to access at first. I think at the beginning of the process, I had it all in theory, what it was supposed to be, but I was having a hard time connecting with it, and it felt like I was circling it, but not quite hitting the mark. I had to have some eureka moments and recognize, like where I needed to grow, but also recognize what parts of myself were in Rigel and how I could connect to him emotionally. I did a play this last year, and the director talked about that. This is probably like old news to Jill because she's like a movie person, but the director mentioned that when you're like playing a character, even if it's a character you really don't like, the secret is to like find what part of yourself resonates with them and like how to build around that. And I thought that was interesting. I liked Rigel, don't get me wrong, but I did find him hard to access at first until I found that piece where it's like, oh, okay, here's what I'm struggling with. And actually, surprise, Rigel is struggling with the same thing. So that was like my inroad. But the other thing, which I think is so fun, is the game Citadel. That was the second piece that had to fall into place. So Andrew, for his book, he invented a game. I think it's like a chess-like game called Citadel. And it was just this like random detail that I think he threw out when we were like brainstorming the books. Like probably not a super big thing. But while I was trying to figure out, okay, what is missing here? Like, how do I bring it home for Rigel's arc? Citadel was actually the missing piece. And that was like the thread and the motif that allowed me to pull Rigel's arc together, and everything fell into place because of this game. So I love that. I love that Andrew gets credit for making Rigel's arc work. And it's amazing what the tiniest little detail can do to like make a story work or just to take it to that next level. I thought that was cool.
Yeah. Every story world needs a Citadel.
It does.
Game.
Another t-shirt.
Another t-shirt. That's awesome. I love that. Writing as not as a solo as an. That's not good. These are bad sentences. Writing is not as solo an activity as one would think.
No.
Steal from everything.
Yeah. That is true.
All right, so those are the end of our guest questions. So we have one more piece to the interview here, and it is called I'm going to call this Finish That Line. So can Nikki finish these lines from her book Heir of Light? Does she remember what she wrote? We're going to find out. And good luck, because I don't know that I could do it all.
Oh boy, I've certainly read it enough times, but I don't know. Hopefully these aren't super
okay. So we have 3 we're going to do here.
Okay.
And let's see, I'm trying to decide which one we like the best. All right, so the first one says, once Armand gives you a blue sky.
The dark before it doesn't seem so heavy.
Pretty close. The dark
Complete?
before it stops
Dark?
feeling so heavy. Good job.
Oh, yes. I think that's close. I think I should get points.
Once Armand gives you a blue sky, the dark before it stops feeling so heavy. All right, nice job, Nikki. All right, here's a question number 2 here, line number 2. Why then do you still talk of Armand as if he's
Leering at you over a Citadel board. Am I close?
Citadel like makes the questions, yeah. And that's Rigel. He's being haunted by that Citadel board. Good job. Okay, and then the last one is a little bit longer. This one says, "Strange the way Armand worked, threading people together across time and borders."
I know the vibe and pulling threads together until they meet in unexpected places or something like that. I don't remember the exact wording.
That's pretty close. It's strange the way Armand worked, threading people together across time and borders, pulling those threads tight until they met somewhere unexpected.
Okay, I feel like that's pretty close.
That's where, well done. I'm gonna give you some applause. That was amazing.
Thank
I
you.
would be like, oh, I don't know what I said. Can I look it up? So yeah, so there we go. That ends
Awesome.
our time with Nikki today as we're talking about Heir of Light. I was so excited for this book to release. Nikki asked 4 people for endorsements, and all 4 people read the book and gave her endorsements because it's fantastic. So she's a rock star, and you can find those endorsements online and see what people are saying, or you can just go read it yourself. The ebook's already out. You can go get that one right now, and paperback today?
No, next week. Next week.
Next week.
6 days. T-minus 6 days.
Ooh, 6 days for the paperback, and I'm excited for mine. I have a spot on the shelf for it right there, ready to go. Very excited about Nikki's book to be live in the world where people can discover it.
Thank you so much for being here, Jill. This was so fun. I hope you guys had fun and that you have learned from Jill's wisdom. Go and read the Blood of Kings trilogy if you want more of Jill, which obviously you do. And definitely check out Heir of Light too. Join me for the book birthday. I'm planning to post a video on that day as well. So thank you so much, everybody. And as always, do not forget to spend some time in the clouds today.